This episode is brought to you by CBS All Access. If you don't already subscribe to CBS All Access, please use our affiliate link by going to talkthroughmedia.com/CBS. Using our affiliate link gives us a little credit, which helps us to keep bringing you great content. U.S. residents only.
Hello, and welcome to episode 49 of the Star Trek Discovery podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Ruthie.
And tonight we will be discussing Season 3, Episode 2 of Star Trek Discovery, titled Far From Home. But before we get started, we have some feedback from last week's episode, Season 3, Episode 1, That Hope Is You, Part 1. So we will open hailing frequencies. So first, we have some errata.
Incorrect.
Yeah. Picard's last episode, I don't know what the heck I'm like, I looked into it. I didn't look into it very well because Picard's last episode was March 26th, 2020. And I should have remembered that, but I didn't. So,
oopsie. And
I mentioned that the actor who plays, how do you say his name? Aditya Sahil? I know it's Sahil. Anyway, I mentioned that I thought he was a Pakistani actor. He is an Indian actor. So just wanted to correct that.
Terrible faux pas.
I know. That's why I had to correct it. I'm surprised no one got
yelled
me
at
on
you.
It. I know.
Yeah, well, I guess we're not very big in the Pakistani or Indian audience right now. Apologies to any of you who are listening.
Unfortunately. So we got a couple of corrections from LT from NC. So, well, not really errata.
I was going to say, this isn't a correction because we asked him to tell us what he was talking about.
Yeah, but part of it is a correction, though. So
okay.
So
part correction, part explanation.
Yeah. So it has to do with the first thing is we said that Lou Ferrigno played an Orion on
You
Star
said
Trek.
That.
Why, yes.
I had no idea. I was like, okay, great.
Yeah. Anyway. Here comes the bus. I better get right under it.
I just want everybody to know. Everybody we're clear.
Anyway, so I said that that Lou Ferrigno played an Orion in Star Trek Enterprise, and that was incorrect. So he played an Orion on Star Trek Continues, which, if you don't know that, it is it's done now, but it continued the 5-year mission of TOS. So it went into year 4 and 5, and it was, unlike most fan-made episodes that you'll see out there, the people that were involved with Star Trek Continues were all from the TV and, film and entertainment industry. So they actually knew what they were doing. So you actually had beautiful
some
sets,
quality
acting, great scripts, great sound, great special effects. All of it's there. And they even had some big actors like John Delancey was on one episode. Rika Sharma was on one episode, for example. And so anyway, very great show. So if you ever want to, catch some TOS style stuff, I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. Just search for Star Trek Continues. Anyway, he played an Orion on Star Trek Continues, not on Star Trek Enterprise. But there were Orions on Star Trek Enterprise. And in fact, a wrestler, Big Show, played an Orion on Star Trek Enterprise. So a big guy played an Orion on Star Trek Enterprise, but it was the wrong big guy.
It was not Lou Ferrigno.
Yes.
And I just believed you too. You just said it with such confidence. I was like, okay.
I know. but thankfully, LT corrected
He's
me.
there to set us straight.
Yeah. Also,
awesome.
We asked him about the sticky reference. It went right over our heads. So what he was talking about was at Mars, at Utopia Planitia, the workers were, joking with the synths. And the one guy says, what's brown and sticky? And the synth says, like, doesn't know. And the answer is a stick. So that's the joke. That's what he was talking about.
Oh, okay. I guess it just wasn't that memorable.
Yeah.
For me.
So there was a 47 last week, and it's actually a 47 that we're going to see up next week. So it's actually, it was in the trailer for, or, coming soon this season on Star Trek Discovery. We see a 47 there, and it's actually something that we're going to see next week because it was in the scenes that we see on the Ready Room. So it's there.
So it wasn't actually in the episode.
That's absolutely correct. But we'll take any 47 that we can.
Thing. Well,
I'm reaching.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have one more piece of errata. And we're not going to talk about that right now because we're going to talk about it in my yeses. But it was a big one. And boy, howdy, when I discovered this, when I did my rewatch on Wednesday, I was ecstatic. So, but officially it's like corrected as of, episode 2, but they actually went back and corrected it in episode 1. So
I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Now. Yes. So, but more on that when we get there. So we got some other feedback. You want to start?
All right. Carol from Illinois says about last week's episode, I thought it was great. The only no for me was the trance worm almost eating Michael. She's got too much plot armor for that to be suspenseful. And I say, I'm not really sure that was exactly meant to be suspenseful so much as funny or like gross.
Well, yeah, it was definitely
funny, gross. I mean, I don't think anybody thought that she would stay in the worm for the rest of time.
Right.
But I don't think that was meant to be played for suspense.
Yeah. Wasn't going to be very suspenseful.
We completely forgot to talk about that last week. So now that you brought that up, I meant to talk about that last week.
I know. That's why I wrote in the doc. I'm like, Ruthie, I assume you want to talk about this.
Yeah, I can't. I think I was too busy writing about the what's with the closing their eyes thing to remember to say something about the holy crap, that giant worm just swallowed Burnham. But anyway, I thought that was, I didn't really have much to say about it. I just meant to mention it and I didn't.
Yeah, well, another thing that I was going to mention that I didn't was the cute like parrot alarm clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Just totally missed that one. Our next bit of feedback is from Brian from Colorado and formerly of Hawaii. So if you ever heard Brian from Hawaii in previous episodes, this is the same guy. He's just no longer from Hawaii. So he says, right. And welcome to the, the mainland, I guess. He says, I give this season 3, episode 1, 9.3 arbitrary ratings.
Nice.
It was great having Discovery back. He says his yeses are the beautiful landscape visuals were stunning. Mm. And then he says, I enjoyed the high-tech future gizmos. And the scene when Burnham was drugged was funny. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. I went and rewatched that again after. we recorded. It was funny.
Yes, it was.
Maybe my most favorite thing of Star Trek ever. It was so good.
If I had any money, I'd be sticking jippers on a beach somewhere. I'd be sticking jippers on a beach somewhere.
It definitely eclipsed that. It was the best. I have this redheaded friend. You cannot give her any of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything was so fast. I really want to talk about it. I really want to talk about it.
He had some no's. He says, I didn't understand why Book's ship crashed too. My thought was it was just, he got caught up in the wormhole. So.
Well, she hit him.
Right.
And I mean, I'm assuming she smacked into him and did something to his ship.
Yeah.
He didn't explain what she did, though, but he wasn't really in a talkative mood when he first met her. So maybe that will come later. Or maybe we just assume that it's because she smacked into him when she was coming out of the
I think that's a fair assumption.
wormhole.
But I guess he's thinking of it like, like small, single person craft versus, big starship. Although we don't,
Well,
I don't know.
Small things can take down big things.
They
it's not
sure can.
Completely unheard of.
a bird takes down an aircraft.
It can happen.
Yeah.
If you get it in just the right spot, that's what I'm assuming happened.
Yeah. He says there was no explanation why Burnham had to give up her Red Angel suit. Did it have to fly into the wormhole to transmit? I believe the answer to that is yes.
Well, I don't think she had to give it up necessarily. I think she wanted to. She set it to self-destruct, for one thing. And I think she did that to make sure that the loop was closed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
the reason why she sent it up to the wormhole was so that it could transmit. But giving it up, I think, was because she wanted to make sure that it didn't, when it got up there, it self-destructed.
Like, I think the suit was the thing that would send the signal.
Yeah.
So for the suit to have to go up, I think that was part of sending the signal. Now, as far as self-destructing, I'm thinking that the suit couldn't come back, from going up there, not in enough time anyway, because the wormhole was closing. So, wherever it was going, it had to be destroyed. That's my take on it. So
I kind of get the feeling that that was her intention. After watching it a second time,
yeah,
I'm like, oh, that wasn't like a, oh crap, what do I do moment. That was like a, I planned this thing, because she wanted to make sure that the suit was destroyed so that no one could follow them, I guess, i.e. control.
Right. And then finally his last no, there was no good explanation why or how Book can communicate with animals, other than the fact that he's related to Dr. Dolittle.
You are correct. There was no good explanation why, how.
Yeah, I think that is coming. So
hopefully.
Yeah. We saw...
Can't have everything in the first episode.
Well, like, we saw one of, what's his name? Zere?
I don't know.
The bad guy. One of his guys looked...
I just called him the bully.
Yeah, well, he was. It's like a 32nd century Negan with long hair.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway.
He had strolled in that bar with a bat, I would have lost my mind.
Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah. Strutting around. Anyway, he had a guy in there that looked basically human, but had red eyes. Like, so, so I'm thinking,
maybe an augmentation or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be with Book. I tend to think it's like we said in the episode. I think it's some alien DNA that has been introduced in Book's family that, he's got that recessive gene. So, that's my take on it. Okay, so he tried to make a new section called minor gripes. So I want to just I want to address this, okay? So we got this from somebody else too where they had a not good enough and then they had hold your horses. We are not starting a fourth category, okay? We have that in the Walking Dead talk through. Biggest mistake I ever made, okay? Don't want to do that again. So if you have stuff that is not good enough or stuff that you have to say hold your horses, I don't know about this, it goes in the hold your horses. It's their
So
equivalent.
if it's not a yes and it's not a no, it's a hold your horses.
Yeah. And we're not starting a minor
FYI.
gripes thing. I don't know if that was meant to be feedback or whatever, but you only get 3. You get your yeses, your nos, and your hold your horses. And I don't want to hear about any other categories. Okay. No,
All right.
that's
So
it.
in other words, we're putting your minor gripes into hold your horses.
Pretty much.
Just FYI.
All right. Anyway, why don't you read those and read the hold your horses?
Okay. So he says the Star Wars vibe was quite strong in places. Space chase, smuggler trope, city scenes, big creature swallowing Burnham, then spitting her out. Yeah, it was there. What are you going to do?
Jim from Florida also mentioned this in feedback, but I didn't put it in the doc. But yes, it had Star Wars kind of stuff in it. I don't think that's necessarily bad. I don't think it's bad if the streams cross.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I like them both. So
I mean,
I don't know. I was fine with it. So
yeah, I don't have a problem.
I'm sorry
with it all.
if you weren't, but it didn't. It had a Star Wars vibe, but it wasn't directly Star Wars. So
yeah.
I mean, honestly, though, you could say that about a lot of stuff because anything that takes place that's outer spacey and in the future, it could be that. But I do understand what you're saying about the whole the vibe. But to me, that is just a compliment. So,
and I think that there are some things in Star Wars that have a Star Trek vibe too.
Yeah.
So like the Rebels, I think, have a Starfleet vibe, kind of. To me, they do.
Yeah.
Except they're always losing, where Starfleet is usually winning. But aside from that,
yeah. So imitation being the highest form of flattery and all that kind of stuff. To me, I was okay with it. All right. He goes on to say, also, the name Book is already taken in another beloved sci-fi franchise. And he is, of course, referring to Shepherd Book and Firefly. And that's true. But I don't know what to say other than Shepherd Book is his name and Book is a nickname for Book here. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm also okay with it. So, I mean, that's like saying once the name Tom is used one time, it can never be used again, okay? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, okay, so. Anyway. All right, he goes on to say, I hated the overly bumpy Andorian skulls. There was no reason to change the look of the Andorians.
And I gave my thoughts on that. 930 years have passed. They could look different because of extra
reasons.
DNA,
because
added,
reasons.
Evolution, who knows? The Orions look different too. That we saw, different skin color, and some people said that Orion wasn't very imposing compared to other Orions, but I don't know. I didn't care about
breeding. Yeah, I don't know. 930 years is a long time. Plus, it's in the future, not the past. So I'm okay with it. All right. Also, he also mentions the Orions weren't really large and imposing enough. Okay.
I guess I previewed what you said, Brian.
You did. We hear you. We understand. Yeah. He goes on to say, I've also not been a fan of the new Tellarite look with tusks either. I hope the producers will soften these changes and or explain them as regional differences like they have done with the Klingons and Romulans.
I think that the original costume, the original makeup of the Tellarites was horrible. So I don't have a problem with it. If they're going to change okay, I hate what they did with the Klingons because the Klingons were awesome. We've established this. We've talked about it every episode that we've had. So that's
it's well established how much we hated
it. The Tellarites, though, are a species that we haven't seen a lot of. And they were established as pig-like or boar-like, and they certainly look more boar-like now with tusks and things like that. I think it's an improvement. And to me, what they look like before is somebody wearing a pig face mask. That's what it looked like. So for them to improve the Tellarites, again, I don't have a problem with it. If they improve the Vulcans, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Like sometimes they just are working stuff out, I guess. Yeah. And they obviously Klingons have changed a lot in the past, but I feel like when they finally landed on the Klingon look, I guess, in one of the original Star Trek movies, I can't remember which one it was.
Motion picture. Although it changed
the motion picture?
Although it changed a little bit from the motion picture to Star Trek 3. In Star Trek, in motion picture, I was
going to say, I just remember Christopher Plummer.
Oh, okay. That was 6, but
yeah,
but that actually preceded by Worf on TNG, but Christopher Lloyd in Star Trek 3.
Oh, right.
He had a look that was very similar to what Worf ended up being like 3 years later. Right. But Mark Leonard played a Klingon in the motion picture, and although similar, it was like they almost had like a spine that went down their like head. So it was a little more elaborate, I guess, but they changed it. Anyway.
Yeah, and well, I mean, and minor forehead differences are one thing, but making their head shape like
egg,
the alien. Yeah, I was gonna say like the alien from Alien.
Yeah,
is a little different from minor variations in forehead.
Yeah,
that can be just like different people have different shaped eyebrows. Well, Klingons have different shaped foreheads.
And to me, this is easily fixed. All they have to do is show Klingons of the Discovery looking era with Klingons in the 24th century era. If they show both of them, then they're good. They don't have to explain any more, because that's just species diversity,
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, then we do have the difference with the trills.
Right.
But again, I feel like going from a bumpy forehead to spots was an improvement, honestly, because so many people have bumpy foreheads, but not very many people have spots.
Yeah.
So I am a fan of not always just making somebody have a bumpy forehead.
Right. And you can't
if you want to go a different direction, then spots is the way to go.
You can't complain about Terry Farrell with spots. You just can't.
No.
Or
any subsequent trill that had spots, other than the first trill that showed up in the next generation. That was a great episode, though. Anyway, moving on. That's all from Brian from formerly Hawaii, now Colorado. I'm sorry that you had to leave.
Oh, okay. Maybe he wanted to leave
for Colorado. I'm still sorry that he had to go from someplace warm to someplace cold, or at least more cold than Hawaii ever is. Anyway, I would probably go stir crazy on an island, maybe. But anyway, thanks, Brian. No more fourth categories.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. What is this?
That's from Ken from Chicago. And I'll have to sing this one.
Oh my gosh. All right. We also got a little thing from at TD Schwartzberg, who says something about the dilithium explosion. I'm guessing something Discovery did without realizing it along the time stream as they were following Burnham may have caused it, like releasing damaged nacelle energy into the stream. I don't know. I mean, I suppose anything's possible.
Yeah.
But that was not my issue with the dilithium exploding thing.
I think we will hear more about this. So
I hope so.
we did get one more thing in on Twitter from our good friend from Twitter, Ken from Chicago, and hopefully I won't butcher this too much. He says, "A Ruthie's back, so you're gonna be in trouble. Hey now, a Ruthie's back."
Oh, thanks, Ken.
And that's with 3 note emojis, a laughing emoji, a thumbs up emoji, and a Spock hand emoji.
That's a rolling on the floor laughing emoji.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Thank you for your corrections. That's
No problem.
Yes.
I'm here for you.
I know. All right. Season 3, episode 2, titled Far From Home. Not That Hope Is You Part 2. Still, the controversy still exists.
I'm going to have to stop you right there. It doesn't actually say anywhere in the title of either episode part. It just has in parentheses 1 and then in parentheses 2. It's indicating that this is a 2-part episode. They just have 2 different titles.
Okay.
So all you guys who are freaking out about this part 1 and part 2 thing, that's not actually even in the title.
I don't even know if I can. I don't know if I can comment on that. I don't think I've seen it. Where did you see that? Is that on through your?
What do you mean? Where did I see it?
Like, I don't remember seeing it that way. But
seeing it what way?
Yeah, because it says
with the in parentheses.
What I see is That Hope Is You, comma, part 1. And then I see Far From Home, no parentheses or nothing. So that's what I see.
Well, I'm looking on my TV Time app and it says That Hope Is You, parentheses 1, and then Far From Home, parentheses 2.
I see.
When I looked at it on my Amazon CBS Prime channel, whatever, Amazon Prime CBS All Access. It's really late. I'm tired. That's how it showed up.
Okay. And I'm looking at it on CBS All Access. So maybe on Netflix, it shows up differently as well. So who knows?
Who knows?
Doesn't matter. Anyway, much like That Hope Is You Part 1, it was written by Michelle Paradise and Jenny Lumet and Alex Kurtzman. So the same trio, co-showrunner Michelle Paradise and executive producer Jenny Lumet, and executive producer and co-showrunner Alex Kurtzman. And directed by, again, executive producer Olatunde Osunsanmi. The description from CBS.com is as follows. After the USS Discovery crash lands on a strange planet, the crew finds themselves racing against time to repair their ship. Meanwhile, Saru and Tilly embark on a perilous first contact mission in hopes of finding Burnham. And that's TVMA with language and violence. We aren't given a star date, but we know that it's, because we know this at the very end of the episode, it is the year 3189. The air date was October 21st, 2020. Obviously, it came out October 22nd, but that stupid thing that they do, it was released. This one was released a little later because I literally was refresh, and it finally showed up for me at 2:11 a.m. Eastern Time or 11:11 p.m. Pacific Time. So
Mm.
And it had a runtime of 53 minutes and 53 seconds. All right, Ruthie, what did you think of Far From Home?
I liked it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first episode.
Okay.
So I am going to hang on a second. I can't remember what rating I gave the first episode.
It was a 9.3188.
Well, then I am retroactively increasing that rating. I'm definitely giving the first episode an arbitrarily higher rating than the second episode.
Okay.
Because I think this second episode is more like a 9. I said 9 point something high.
Yeah, you did.
9. This is a 9 point something less high.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it, but there were a lot more head scratchy moments to me, I guess. This episode was not as tight as the first one. I appreciated a lot of things, but I am going to give it a 9.3188 this time. Bureaucracy is where fun goes to die.
Oh, that was a good one.
I know.
And maybe I was caught up by the exuberance of what I'm about to mention in the yeses, but I gave the last episode a 9.5, and there was one thing about it that really bugged me that had nothing to do with the episode itself. Well, I can't give that rating anymore because of what I'm about to say. So I have to up that one to a 9.75, and I'm going to give this one a 9.75, although I may lower it because I feel where you're coming from there. But I couldn't decide what to call it. I had so many possibilities. So, 9.75, my name lacks authority.
My name lacks authority. What? That was hilarious.
And then, of course, Jet Reno had a couple classics.
She had some zingers.
9.75 knee plus ultras. I thought that came out of nowhere, but the best one by far was the 9.75 hazmat cleanups on aisle 5. I thought that was hysterical, and I think so did James.
Oh my gosh!
Because he gave it. He said, "Far From Home is 10. Actually, my name is Gene," and I already forgot that. Because that's the second part of that line.
I already forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hysterical.
Actually, my name is Jean. I already forgot that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, she was so great. I think next time she's on, I'm just going to write down all of her lines in a separate document.
Yeah, we need to have a Jet Reno says section or something.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I'll just follow you for the witty repartee.
Because I kept thinking about it. It's like hazmat cleanups on aisle 5. Is anyone from 2258 actually going to understand aisle 5? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I don't care. That's funny.
Oh my gosh, I know. Bobcat. What? I don't know. I'm high.
Yep.
All right. Jeff X Force 11 says 9.7 Tillies of diplomacy.
Comic Geek Kev says, I give this episode 9.8 out of 10 Saru Fierce Platform Shoes.
Yes.
And that's only because I have to leave some space for the next episode that beats this one, and the parasitic ice, which comes up quite a bit, actually. While a cool idea, didn't execute 100% to me.
Yeah.
I will not disagree with you, and we'll talk more about it. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that But yeah, you're not wrong. It was problematic. Let's just say that.
Yep.
All right. Edwin from Arizona says 9.8. I'm going to enjoy this new world.
Carol from Illinois says 9.5 out of 10. Leland Goo Boots.
You have Leland on your boots. Oh my gosh. Wes from Minnesota says, rating, this was better than episode 1. I give it 9.5 slowly disintegrating phaser shots or getting out of shitty situations out of 10.
Rick from Cleveland says, what a great episode. I rate this 9.9 out of 10 gooey bits of Leland on your shoes.
Oh my gosh. Aaron from Akron says, I give it 8.5 pigeon languages.
LT from NC says, it's a 9 out of 10. You've got some Leland on your shoe.
That was a big hit.
And I kidded LT because LT told me before we started recording that he watched the episode 6 times. I'm like, you watched the episode 6 times? He only gave it a 9.
Yeah. Well, you know. All right. Clint from Indianapolis says, another great episode. 8.9 parasitic ice crystals. Star Trek gets another Hell on Wheels alumni to give an awesome performance with Jake Weber playing the baddie. I've seen him in several things.
So, too bad he didn't have any scenes with Anson Mount.
Ah, well.
Wrong
What
season.
are you going to do?
Lastly is Mike from Cleveland. He says, I give this episode 8 out of 10 really creepy and aggressive glaciers.
Very aggressive glaciers.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
so
gosh.
now it is time for our yeses. And this is an edited down yes. So here we go.
Yes! All right. She is super excited, and she should be. All right. The first one is from Comic Geek Kev. And Kev says, the entire opening scene, just fantastic. Great visuals, and even though we know the ship and at least certain characters survive, it was suspenseful and had me on the edge of my seat. It was very well done. Although, if I hadn't seen previews in last week's Ready Room that showed this clip and already know their short-term fates, I would have thought Detmer and Oyo were dead. Their eyes were open and it looked like everyone else's were closed. No doubt about that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they definitely looked like the lights are on and nobody's home. Or the lights were not on and no one was home. I don't know.
Yeah, more on Detmer. Several people comment about her. So
yeah, we'll talk about her a lot, I'm sure. Tilly saying, we don't know where we are and we don't know when we are, which is what I wanted them to do last week, just to show us a bit of discovery. However, I'm perfectly happy with the way this was done.
Okay.
The moment they realize there is life and that their mission to save life was successful. Agreed.
Yeah.
We're already seeing more of the bridge crew, and I couldn't be happier. I think Bryce and Reese had more lines in this episode than they had all of last season.
Especially Bryce. He actually had stuff to do. You know?
Yeah. Well, everybody has stuff to do. They have a drastically smaller crew now.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to figure out how, because they said they have 88 crew. So how many do they have? How many did they have before? That's what I wasn't sure about what the number was.
Oh, I don't know, but I'm sure it was a lot. Saru putting Giorgio in her place multiple times. I hope he keeps on the track of we're still Starfleet and we will act accordingly. Hopefully he and Sahil meet at some point. His Tilly talk was great. She continues to be one of my favorite characters. I agree.
Yeah.
I really like her a lot.
I think that Saru Giorgio dynamic is pretty cool. I think
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
He's not the same Saru for sure.
No.
He's not backing down, and I like it. Jet and Hazmat Jean. I've already forgotten that. Jet was a joy as always, and on painkillers, she's even better. Oh my gosh. And I thought it was Linus that Detmer said didn't make it. Glad he's still with us. I really hope we get to see more of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure
Saru,
who she said didn't make it.
I don't know.
I have to go
Someone
back and
died.
look. Yeah.
I couldn't. I don't know who that was. I'm like, I don't recognize that character, nor do I know that name. So I'm just going to say that was a red shirt. Sorry for you. Saru's ganglia spikes, or whatever we're calling them, coming out to play. Wait, they were threat ganglia. Now, can we call them threatening ganglia? Maybe. I don't know if they're ganglia
Spikes.
anymore. They're spikes. Threatening spikes ganglia. I don't know. Threatening ganglia. Yeah. We know Saru is more powerful than humans, so it was great to see him and Giorgio fighting their way through Zara and his men. The Michael moment. Well worth the wait. A year makes sense, long enough for Burnham to maybe start losing hope, but not so long that she's given up. I'm not sure that really came as a surprise to anyone, that it was her pulling them out of the ice, but it was a fantastic moment to see them all on screen together.
Yep, it was. Thank you so much, Comic Geek Kev. All right, next is James the Augmented Sailor. And I am not surprised what he starts with. Jet Reno. Then he says, Jet Reno. Jet Reno is back, everybody. Have I mentioned how much I love Jet Reno?
No, I'm not sure.
I would have never
elaborate.
I would have never guessed that, James. Never in a million years. Is it me,
man.
or are Saru's prosthetics improved? There seems to be more movement and ability to emote in the jar now. I'm really digging it. His confidence is really coming along as well without coming off too overbearing and cocky, which is something I was worried about when he first evolved. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think his prosthetics have improved, and I think that that's something that you would kind of expect,
Yeah,
to
I would
evolve.
expect that.
Yeah.
As like they get better at,
Yeah.
making the stuff to whatever. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think what I would say about it is that he's evening out.
Yeah.
He was, at first not sure what to do with all these aggressive feelings he was having, I think. But I think he's evening out. Now that he's, adjusting to his new state. That's what I think. I like it too. I'm also glad.
The one woman tactical team that is Giorgio. And then he says, did I mention Jet's back? Yes.
Yes, she's great. I love Tig Notaro too.
And she was especially great this episode.
She was, for the most part. I have one tiny little, but yeah, great. All right, Wes from Minnesota says that those weapons that Zara had looked really badass. And I have no idea if I'm saying his name right. That's just kind of how I remember it being said.
I think it's like Sarah, but with a Z.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So that's what I'm going with. If it's wrong, somebody will tell me.
Yep.
Second, Saru is making it more like a captain. He said the exact wording any previous captain would have said. The lines that were delivered reminded me so much of the 24th century captains Picard, Sisko, and Janeway. Just amazing writing.
Yep.
I agree. He feels very captain-like to me, but to other people, not so much. Lastly, Tilly seems to have grown up a little bit. She's still trying to restrain herself from saying the third ever F-bomb in Star Trek history. Thank you, Saru, for stopping her. I know, that was great. What the
Although I think you're wrong about that. There were a ton of F-bombs in Picard. So yeah. Let's not forget about the multitude of F-bombs in Picard. So although they weren't Starfleet officers saying it. Well, no, of course.
Yeah,
Admiral,
I was going to say
the Admiral, sheer effing hubris.
The Admiral.
And shut the F up. So she was full of them. So yeah. But something pre 2017 we had never heard, and now we hear them all the time.
Yep. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right, Carol from Illinois says Star Trek as a literal Western.
Rick from Cleveland has a few here. He says, yes for Detmer. Having her disoriented and in a bit of a fog was a perfect 2020 thing. She was all of us at some point this year, taken out of reality and finding a way to function. I had not thought of that. Obviously, this was written and shot prior to COVID. But yeah, I mean, that has been very appropriate to this year, I will say. I've kind of been that way all year. Yes, for the whole crew ensemble. It's tough to pick a standout because they all stood out. Saru, steadfast and patient in command, unyielding to Giorgio or anyone else. Reno, just the perfect amount of sarcasm and wit in every scene she is in. I forgot that already. It will stick with me a while. Giorgio's scenes with everyone were awesome and elevate the roles of Nan, Linus, and any backgroundish character she pairs with. Culber and Stamets were both great in this episode in their scenes together and with others. And of course, Tilly, ever awkward and uncomfortable, yet rising to every occasion. Her name may lack authority.
What?
Which I still don't get what that meant, but I thought it was funny. It was like a non sequitur, you know.
It was totally Tilly, that's why.
Yeah. Her name may lack authority, but she thrives in her discomfort. Even without Pike, this crew feels like a family as much as any that have come before.
Agreed.
Yes, for what you call pain, I call foreplay. That was just perfect.
That was so
Yeah, she had some good lines this week, too.
She did. She and Jet stole the show.
Yeah. Last one, yes for hope. The thing that really got me here is that in this future, 120 years or so after the burn, Starfleet, the Federation, is still a thing of legend. Something some people believe can help them. We saw this last week on the Federation outpost, but to see it again here, to see Cal's people react to it was great. Anyone could be flying that ship, but only someone special was a Starfleet officer. This optimism is a great balance to some of the brutality we see in this dark future.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep. Faux show. All right. Next, we have Aaron from Akron who says, Jet Reno is back. Then Clint from Indianapolis says, yes for Giorgio saving the day, kicking butt. And LT from NC has a few. He says, Saru is being very captainly. However, Giorgio is getting all the good lines. Well, aside from Reno and Stamets.
Yeah.
That's true. Nan is back, and I am happy she is. I also knew the courier was going to get it when Giorgio walked in the bar. Or was thrown in, rather. But, walked in is fine. All right. And last one, Mike from Cleveland says, everything about the opening scene of Discovery arriving and crashing was amazing to watch. Every second Michelle Yeoh is on screen. Zara, I personally like the old school Wild West like villainous character types.
Yep, I agree.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't like bullies.
Well,
he was just a big fat bully. So,
That's true.
But he was the bad guy. So I don't have to like every bad guy.
All right. So it's time for our yeses. What do you have?
I really liked the effect of Stamets being alone and everything quiet while he was in the coma. And then everything popped back when Culber brought him back.
Yeah.
That scene where he was it was like zen and peaceful. And then suddenly, and he was by himself, there was no one else in the room. And then everything just snapped back real quick when Culber brought him out of it. So I liked that. I thought that was a great way that they did that scene. I thought that was good.
Okay. You have anything else?
I appreciate Saru more and more because he what he says about Giorgio when he's walking with Tilly, she's concerned for Michael and lacks the self-awareness to control her behavior in such an unsettled state.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, I liked that reaction too, and I liked how it placed Tilly. Well, it's not surprising to me that Tilly would be kind of placed as, you know, one of the big characters this season, but to me, that she can be trusted, whereas Giorgio's just a wild card, you know. You know, and
sometimes you need a wild card, but sometimes you don't.
But at the same time, the thing is with her one thing of good is that she loves Burnham, you know, and despite all of her faults and all of her,
we're talking about Giorgio.
Yeah. Despite all of her faults and all of her, like, you know, her decadence and greed from, you know, being the emperor of
right.
Yeah. She loves Burnham, and she will do anything to you know, protect her and to find her. She's like desperate to save her. She's desperate to find her. And
she's laser focused.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. Like, it gives her a big redeeming quality. In, you know, another show, she just may turn into an enemy, whereas she's not. She's kind of neutral. She could turn on you, but at the same time, she's probably going to be, you know, bad on your side. And that's kind of what she was this episode. She was kind of baddie, but she was, you know, on our side. So she did the things that nobody else would do. So,
right. And I think also, in addition to, I guess what I glean from her character as well, and I think Saru kind of spells it out a little bit when he says she lacks the self-awareness, is that she doesn't know how to process these feelings of extreme, you know, love / care / concern / I don't know where to put these kind of things, because when it comes right down to it, love is, generally speaking, a selfless emotion. Of course, there are destructive kinds of love and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But to my mind, that's not really love. But I think what she feels for Michael is a feeling that I don't really know what to do with this, or how to deal with it, or how to process, or, you know, this is unusual for me because it's a selfless thing, and that's not in her nature. So this is going against her nature, and and that's why I love this statement that he says so much, because she lacks the self-awareness to control her behavior, because I don't know what to do with this, and I feel out of control, and I just need to focus on something, and let's, you know, So and, you know, Saru's like, all right, I get it.
Yeah. And I also love the fact that a former emperor of the Terran Empire, also
the terrible place.
Yeah. Is not self-aware enough. You know, that just blows my mind. You would think that someone that was an emperor of this, you know, terrible empire would have some self-control, but, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's necessarily that she doesn't have self-control. I think it's that this is new.
She doesn't have self-control over Burnham. Like, she loses any self-control that she has. Yeah.
Well, she can't, like, this is new, and she doesn't have control over this new feeling.
Right.
Like, she has complete and utter control over all of the other aspects of herself. But this new thing is, and because a person can, you know, when you care for someone that way, but you can't control them, then when something happens to them, or when they do something, or, you know, whatever, that can be a very disorienting, I guess, you know, kind of experience, because this thing that I love so much is like, I can't, like, I just want to hold it and squish it and, you know, make sure that you put it in a bubble and, you know, but she can't do that.
Right.
And so it's just, I don't know, to me, it's just a whole new thing that she just is, you know, freaking out about. And that's one of the, that's why I love that statement that he says about her, because it's like a total downplay too, in such an unsettled state.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if you want to call it that. I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally unsettling for her because it's completely new and foreign.
All right. So we've hinted at it. My big yes was fixed, actually in the first episode. And when I went back and did a rewatch on Wednesday, I was absolutely shocked that I was so shocked that I cried. I know Ruthie just reacted to me saying that. I was so happy that I cried, and that is this. The big thing that I complained about last week was that they used the wrong Star Trek font. I know. I'm so nerdy. But anyway, I like consistency. It makes my brain happy. So when we see all this artwork, you know, prior to the season starting, and they've got this new Discovery font, and they're using the classic Star Trek font, that made me happy. And when I saw the first episode and they didn't use that font on the Star Trek, that made me mad, right? Much like they did for Picard. It made me mad. Okay. Well, I went to go watch it on Wednesday night, or Wednesday during the day at lunch, and there it was. Star Trek Discovery with Star Trek in the classic Star Trek font. And I had to say, forget that. Okay, I won't do too much. But anyway, I was just so happy because it makes my brain happy when there's consistency like that. And I don't know. I can't explain it, but I just like it when I can buy a t-shirt or a hat and it has Star Trek Discovery on it and it's in the same font as what I see on TV. So
awesome.
I just love the fact that they fixed it. Like, they actually fixed it before the week was out. They fixed it. So what I'm guessing aired was the wrong version of it. Like, maybe they did it with the Discovery font, but it was supposed to be changed, but they didn't change it. They changed it, but they put the wrong one in. I don't know. But the fact is, 6 days later, it was fixed. And of course, in this episode, it's fixed. So anyway, I'm a nerd.
Somebody lost their job.
I'm a nerd. That's fine. But I was just so happy to see that. So it made me actually feel like they listened to our podcast and said, and then they said, "Oh, Brian's making a good point. Hey, could you fix that? You know, before it ends on, or, you know, airs on Thursday." I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got it ready. We'll put it right into this episode." Oh, great! So they did, and Brian will be happy, and Brian was happy when he saw that. So,
and all was well.
And all was well. And something else, I don't know if it wasn't there. Probably was. I didn't notice it last week, but at the end of the credits is a wormhole. So we see like a wormhole, and that's talking about the, you know, Einstein, whatever. I mentioned it.
Bridge.
Yeah, I mentioned it. Mentioned the Einstein-Rosen bridge later. But yeah, that's in there. And going to what you were saying earlier, I liked when Tilly said, you know, "Thank you for choosing me, sir." And then she says, "Why did you choose me, sir?" Something paraphrasing that.
Yeah.
I really like that. And I also liked Saru's response. And I liked him as a captain this week.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
You, Ensign Tilly, are a wonderful first impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. And I thought that the initial, like, cold open when they're, coming in and, they're hitting asteroids or whatever was like going right through them and the real bumpy landing and the whole, like disorientation that they got coming out of the wormhole, which we've seen before. We'll talk about that. I like that. And because it wasn't just like, the old like thing you used to see on TNG where they're, shaking in their chairs. It's a little more than that. So yeah, I mean, I liked all of that. And so all in all, though, I enjoyed this episode. Whether or not I enjoyed it as much as last week, I'd have to go back and watch them back to back and have an idea. But right now, I'm calling them both 9.75. So,
wow. Well, I know I liked the first one a little bit better than I liked this one. So there were things. I also liked when Culber said, my partner brought me out of a coma and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Oh, I'm happy you brought that one up.
And that, so great.
And then later,
t-shirt is spelled T-shirt.
and then later, what was it he said about, I hope you get out of the.
You better come out of there alive so I can kill you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So last week, I didn't have a new no. And I said that I think that there was a no, but I couldn't find it. And then Burnham's no wasn't quite there, but there was a no. And in fact, there was a no before Burnham's yes. So it was this.
Interesting.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He had a no. And she had a no.
Yep. So yeah, Book had a no just before they collided. So that's what that was. All right. So I will start. Comic Geek Kev says, poor Cal. I thought we might have had a new ally in this new time. So much for that. And it's not like he even got the quick disruptor type death. It looked slow and painful. Yes, it did.
Mm.
Yeah.
Bleeding from the eyes and mouth.
Yeah.
The nose.
It just, it was like he just got a long, I didn't understand that. Like, if it was the weapon was designed to do that, or if he just had it set at a setting,
slow death setting.
Yeah. Because, he must have had it turned down a little bit for Jojo. I don't know, but
I don't think he did.
But it was quite a cool disruptor with that long, kind of like almost sawed-off shotgun like look. Not quite, but his other one is, what's up with Saru's inability to just say Burnham's hair grew? I have to agree with you, Kev. I guess I'll chalk it up to the shock of seeing her.
Yeah.
He's like, Burnham, you grew ganglia.
Haha. That's funny. Well, when he for him, I just saw you like 5 minutes ago and your hair was super short and
yeah, that's true.
Now it's not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it was a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but you get the idea.
It was a lot longer for her than it was for him.
Faux show. All right, James the Augmented Sailor says, in contrast to Saru's confidence, Tilly is having some self-esteem and confidence issues here, and I don't like it. And there's really no reason for it. Get her shit together, writers. I don't necessarily think that it's self-esteem issues. I think it's that, the entire crew is like, had their brains scrambled a little bit. So she's not alone in that. And I think that's what's making her like, they probably all have concussions despite what the doctor said, at least mildly or something. But anyway, to me, I feel like she's scared. This is a completely unlike any other situation they've been in before type of thing. I mean, they always intended to get back from the mirror universe. So I think for her, that was temporary. And anything that's temporary can be endured until you get through it.
Right.
This is not temporary. This is permanent.
Yeah.
We are permanently in a completely new place. We're never going back home. And you can know that that's going to happen intellectually, but until it actually happens to you, I think that, I mean, there's knowing and then there's knowing. So
Right.
to me, that's kind of what's happening with her, is that I'm scared. And she said it, I'm scared. And I'm like, damn, yeah, I would be scared too. I'm like, you jumped 930 years in the future. Even a century in the future would be shocking, I think. You know, I mean, like 10 years, probably not so much. But like 100 years or more, 930 years, that's nearly a millennium. That's a long time to be in the future. And, you know, that's freaking scary. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
So get off her back. Jeez, give her a minute.
Yeah.
I stick up for my girl. All right. And then he goes on to say, Cal dying. I was like, no, he was so nice. Poor guy. I feel you. I feel bad for Cal too.
Yeah.
I was mad about it.
I would agree.
That's one of my no's. Because no one did anything.
No.
And it's not like it was quick. It's not like it was like, oh, and I couldn't do anything because it happened so fast. It was like they all just stood there and watched this guy slowly kill him to death.
Yeah.
That sucked.
It did. Yeah, I agree. It did suck.
A lot.
It very much did suck big time.
Yep. That's all James had to say.
Carol from Illinois said, Tilly is a trained commissioned Starfleet officer in command who dreams of being a captain. She should not be told to hide behind the bar while Saru and Giorgio fight the bad guys. She should be expected to fight. Her job isn't peaceful like Deanna or Beverly. She has a similar role to Mariner or Michael. I would not disagree with that. I think there's some, I don't know. I tend to think, I mean, she did hit the guy over the head with a bottle, but still she was kind of, you know, passively out of the, so we've never seen, you know, can Mary Wiseman fight? we haven't seen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like that was not necessarily a slight on Tilly, but Saru told her to go behind the bar, and so she did. So if anything, that shouldn't really be, you know. But then again, would you tell someone to fight if they had never fought before?
True.
Or if they weren't necessarily trained for it? I mean, she just started the command training program, so maybe she hasn't gotten to the combat skills aspect of it yet. And if that's the case, I'm not going to order someone to fight who has no idea what they're doing.
So she hasn't done that yet.
Oh my gosh. That was awesome. Nope, she hasn't gotten to that yet. Oh man. All right. Wes from Minnesota says, I sense a little Intendant Kira love in Giorgio when she and Nan have a conversation about their situation while Tilly and Saru go to the settlement. Seemed a little out of place. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I know what she's talking about now.
Yeah.
He's talking about. I was like, I don't know. And yeah.
Well, it does remind me a lot of that scene that we were talking about last week with Giorgio in the engineering lab and her strutting around Stamets, you know.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Did you call me Poppy?
Binary. Did you just call me Poppy?
Yeah. What just happened?
Yeah, no. That was so great. Oh my gosh. Second, the parasitic ice. Sounds outlandish. I agree. Not really down with it.
Yeah. I
mean, it's frozen water.
Yeah, and
that's what ice is.
I mean, does the parasitic ice is it sentient? I mean, is it Yeah, I don't know.
It's more like the ice has parasites in it.
Right.
And so they just called it parasitic ice.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a misnomer because, so I'll let him say it. James has quite a lot to say about the ice.
Yes, he does. He does.
So I'll let him talk about it.
It's mostly in our Hold Your Horses segment, so we will hear about it in a minute. Clint from Indianapolis says no for the just adequate fight choreography of the Giorgio butt kicking. Yeah, and incidentally, this is the same director that did that whole scene with Giorgio and Nan against Leland. With the, how
that was a good butt kicking.
Yeah, the things were gravity loss, so everything kept shifting. That was the same director, Olatunde Osunsanmi. So,
Well, maybe the fight choreographer was different.
Maybe it's possible.
I don't know.
Another no for the Stamets Reno repair storyline. Slow moving and mostly boring, with a couple of good lines from Reno.
I kind of have to agree with you, although I'm not sure I would necessarily put it in the no, but it wasn't really working for me, especially the whole take the blah, blah, blah off the blah, blah, blah. Now remove the blah, blah, blah. I was like,
right.
What is happening right now?
Yeah. The thing that I didn't like about it was, we haven't heard, is like Reno considered the chief engineer at this point. I mean, she's a 3-pip commander, so if she isn't, she should be. But the thing is that, I didn't buy the idea that Reno would stay back and Stamets would go up there, considering they're both injured. Like, Reno's the engineer, so shouldn't she be the one that's making the repair? And she seemed to be taking great satisfaction in letting him do that, So
to me, I thought that she was trying to sarcasm him into not going because he is hurt.
Right.
But then when he went, she just kind of let him.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really understand why he was stuck in the Jeffries tube other than the fact that he was injured. I was like, okay, so he's hurt or he re-injured himself. I mean, basically it's like he popped stitches or something. But I was like, I mean, exactly how unhealed is he? Because he seemed like this one little knockabout completely just set him back to when he first got injured. I'm like, so what? I don't know. That whole thing, I didn't like it. I still love her.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I love the lines, but the
actual scene itself.
Yeah.
No, it didn't work for me either.
Her taking, this great satisfaction, knee plus ultra.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, okay.
I do, actually.
Well, share with the class.
The knee plus ultra has to do with the ultimate, I believe, is how it's considered. It means a descript. I'm reading it from the Wikipedia thing, but a descriptive phrase meaning the best or most extreme example of something. So kind of like the ultimate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess in the case of Stamets, it was the knee plus ultra of stupidity or hubris or pride. I don't know,
but she should have let her help. That's all I'm thinking. Someone should have, I don't know. And why didn't anyone go up there after him? I don't know. Because he's stuck in a Jeffries tube in a ship that's being crushed or something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'm with you, Clint. It wasn't that great, except for the lines.
Yeah, the lines made it, made it work, but it was not completely working. Mike from Cleveland?
To me, the lines made it bearable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it worked.
Okay, so we have our last two no's from the Northeast Ohio area where I used to live.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
First of all, Mike from Cleveland says, no, Saru. It seems to me that the show is setting up Saru to fail as captain. I got a serious, too timid for the moment vibe from him. Plus, I was disappointed by what we got from Saru in the bar fight. I just expected more from him in that fight. I was under the impression Kelpians are more dangerous in physical encounters. Yeah, I can understand that. Like when you see him in season 1, episode 8.
On that crazy planet.
Yeah, on the crazy planet. We see him running 50 miles an hour and, and
stronger than humans.
Yeah, way stronger.
Stronger, better, faster.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you there. And then going down I-77 a little ways to Akron, we have Aaron from Akron, and he says, Saru seems too naive to be captain. So there's something about Saru and being captain in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with those Ohioans. They have some issues.
No.
Saru.
I'm not from there anymore, but I still do identify. So
I think what you're seeing isn't necessarily Saru being too naive to be captain, but you're seeing a Starfleet in a situation that's not
too naive to be Starfleet.
No, not too naive to be Starfleet. Too Starfleet to be anything but naive in the situation that they're in.
That's probably true.
I mean, Starfleet is, we don't shoot first, we only defend ourselves. We have these weapons are for defense only, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And I semi-agree, but I don't think that it's necessarily because of him. I think it's because of him being Starfleet is what I think. Because to me, I'm yeah, the time to go for your weapon wasn't when he was already in the bar.
Yeah.
It was before.
Yeah.
It was before they walked in. That's when you should have gone for the weapon.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any no's?
I guess my biggest no, I just didn't really like the whole scene in the bar, honestly. I mean, I feel bad for Cal because no one did anything. And the whole situation just really pissed me off. This bully showed up, and when the locals started freaking out, they just sat there stupidly and let it all happen. I'm like, if someone who knows more about something than I do starts having a royal freak out about, and you have to go out the back right now, I'm like, all right, where do I go? I mean, I feel like their situational awareness was seriously lacking in this. I mean, and again, I think that goes back to where Starfleet were open and honest. We don't, they're not expecting that kind of a thing. And so that's completely my perspective, having, watched all the TV that I've watched and listened to all the books I've listened to and, all that kind of stuff. If someone is, why are you afraid of him? Doesn't matter. They're afraid of him. And you don't know enough to not be afraid of him.
Right.
So if they say you got to go right now, then you should go. And they don't. And because of that, Cal dies.
Right.
And that's kind of what made me mad. I was like, I feel like they should have been a little bit more prepared than they were. But then I guess, we wouldn't have got the cool Giorgio kick-ass scene. But still, I just, and again, the time to move for your weapon was before they walked in, not after this guy just died horribly. I'm like, it's way too late for that. So that whole scene kind of, and I was also a little disappointed that out of all the languages that Saru knows, he couldn't figure out that one because it's Pidgin. So it's not like, it's basically a bastardization of a different language. And he knows how many languages. and he couldn't figure that one out. That didn't fly with me. So I don't know if I would necessarily say that's a no, but it was part of that scene, so I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess to that you could say that like the naivete of, say, Non for just thinking that Georgia would, go to decade. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was going to mention this in our notes, and I should have mentioned it as a yes, I guess, but I'll mention it here. It is completely like not mentioned anywhere anything about Rachel Ancheril being not only her not like, we didn't know if she survived, but not only that, she's on the main cast. Like she's in the first, credits on the main credits. So I saw her name, like, whoa, like I was really surprised to see her there. But, but I wonder the fact that she hasn't been in any press, I wonder how long is she going to be here, So beyond that, I think most of what I thought would have been a no has already been covered. I did have some stuff in the Hold Your Horses though. So let's get to that. And
hello, this is Captain Tilly. What the hell? What the hell? Hold your horses.
Still makes me laugh.
Yeah, me too.
It's been 3 years now. It still makes me laugh. Yeah.
All right, Comic Geek Kev says, as much as I like Jet, the whole Stamets in the tube scene seemed unnecessary, but Bobcat made it worth it. Yeah, I agree. Letting Zara go sure makes it seem obvious he'll be back to cause more trouble.
Yep.
And especially, I would add in here, I don't really understand why they gave him Tilly's pack. What was that about?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just begging for the cause more trouble thing, because we'll even give you a chance to survive. Like,
I guess they took his personal transporter, right? Because they gave them to Tilly and Saru. Because
I had no idea whose personal transporter that was, but it came from somewhere and they got it.
Because that was like my first thought. It's like, well, doesn't he just have there was all this like, thing about, this parasitic ice, it'll kill you. I've seen it like, go down somebody's throat or whatever. And
it's in your lungs.
It's like, well, can't you just use the personal transporter and like, zap away from it,
I mean, yeah, they took everything from him, but then they gave him something. So that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I'm like, they took his weapons, they took his ship basically, and then they kicked him out into the night. But here's like, that's like kicking a man into the desert that you're expecting to die, but here's some water.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I felt like about that. I was like, that definitely gets a Hold Your Horses. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
And I would be like, no, actually, because now that I'm stranded 930 years in the future, I'm going to need all my stuff.
Very true.
That's what I would think anyway, but that's just me. It's like, because, I can't get any more.
But I agree. The fact that, he's gonna show back up at some point.
I'm sure he will. All right. He goes on to say, one of my issues with the visuals was the parasitic ice. It just looked so fake to me, just too obviously CGI. But the rest of the scenes more than made up for it.
It just didn't work. I mean, it
didn't work at all. That was a fail.
The idea didn't work. And I don't know, like we've seen parasitic organisms, eat up a hull, and I don't know, this whole thing about it being parasitic ice, it just, I don't know, they tried to make it seem like this ice was menacing or something, and it's like, why couldn't they, here was a thought that I had, okay, if this parasitic ice is so like scary, can't they just melt it?
That's what I was wondering. Why don't they just turn up the heat on the ship?
Exactly.
I'm like, it's just ice. And you know what ice turns into when you heat it up? It turns into water.
And if you really heat it up, it turns into vapor. You know,
exactly. Oh gosh, the 3 stages of.
And what happens when you boil water? It kills organisms like parasites.
I didn't understand. I was like, are there weapons down? Do they not have phasers? I mean, what's happening right now?
I think they did say they were they had no weapons.
Yeah, I seem to recall saying something like that.
But they have hand phasers.
Yeah, can't you just what about, were their shields down too? I mean, there's so many problems. So many problems with this. I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to have this like ice that grows super quick, but I mean, you could have it could be moisture from the ship because the ship is warm, turning into ice super quick because of a severe drop in temperature or something. I mean, I don't know. The whole parasite thing, I was like, what?
Like I said, just take the starship, heat it up, turn it into like a heating element, boil the water, kill the organisms, you're done.
Yeah. Crank up those nacelles or something. I mean,
and they'll say, oh, well, these space organisms, they don't, die at boiling temperature. They die at, X temperature. It's like, okay, well, we'll make it hotter.
I know, right? Can we not make it more hot? I mean, we're not suffering from a lack of energy. We're suffering from systems failures.
The point is, too, it's like, okay, if they can't do that, if they can't heat up the ship, they got phasers, and forget about the ship's phasers. They didn't lose all their phasers. Their phasers, their hand phasers didn't just simply go away. The type 3 phaser is more powerful than the type 2 or the type 1,
Yeah, exactly. Which is why it's the 3.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Even the type 1 would make a dent on this. But anyway,
all
guys
you have to do is just slice a hole so that you can it doesn't matter if there's still stuff on top. You don't have to get it off the entire ship, because as soon as you go into space.
Yep.
I mean, come on now. Anyway, I had problems with the parasitic ice. It didn't work for me.
Yep.
I have more to say on that also in a little bit, but let's move on. Okay. I don't really understand what Kev is talking about here. Maybe you can help me. Wasn't Non a security officer? Why is she in charge of security?
Well,
I guess maybe it's just a matter of rank. I thought she was the chief of security on the Enterprise. I'm not quite sure why she chose to stay.
She was definitely the chief of security on Discovery. I mean, I think she was made that way from Pike.
Right. I thought she was the chief of security on the Enterprise, and he brought her over. Thus, she was chief of security on Discovery.
Right.
So to me, I don't understand what you're asking, I guess, because I'm like, isn't that why she's in charge of security? Because she's chief of security?
Yeah. The main thing is to make this clear. She is, like a lot of people on this ship, and I want to bring this up now, she is a 3 full pip commander. So she has 3 pips, not 2.5 pips, 3 pips, and she is a full commander not. And yes, she is a security officer, and she would be by, unless somehow there's a captain of security, she would be the head of security. And if you recall, prior to her, what's her name? Landry was also a 3-pipped head of security. Now Tyler was 2 pips, but anyway. The point being that I want to make is, why are there so many 3-pipped commanders on this ship? For example, you have Saru, you have Burnham, you have Non, you have Reno, and you have Giorgio. And this was new to me, but actually when I went and did my rewatch, it was indicated at some point that Giorgio because she's called Captain Giorgio at some points during the season by Section 31, but then called Commander elsewhere. So, but anyway, it's specifically indicated that she's got 3 pips at this point, which, whatever. But so that, by my counts, 5. There are 5 full 3-pipped commanders on this vessel, and that is pretty rare, So,
Yeah.
I mean, we did see other commanders, like, say, on the Enterprise D, we had Riker, we eventually had Troy, we also had Crusher. So three of them that I can think of. Data, poor Data, who deserved a promotion, never got beyond 2.5 pips in 30 years of knowing him, But anyway, that's beside the point.
Poor Data.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he says, I'm not completely sure who's on board. Of 88 people, can she be the highest rank? I guess most of them are lower decks. So yeah, I guess she is the highest rank for her position. So yeah. All right. He says, was Zara's gun on a different setting with Giorgio, or was she more resilient than poor Cal?
I think it was a different.
I will tell you, it was not. Go ahead.
Oh, was it a different setting?
No, he just went bzz, 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 instead of bzz.
Yeah.
And he even said, I'm going to kill you slowly. I'm like, as if it wasn't slow enough. Anyway.
Yeah.
He basically said, I'm going to drag this out. So that's what happened.
Yeah.
And maybe she's a little more resilient. I don't know. Because to her, pain is foreplay. So there is that. All right. And finally, he says, are we going to see what's going on with Detmer? It seems like they are setting something up with her. Maybe with her implant, like there's going to be an issue with it and they won't be able to fix it for some reason. I agree. There's definitely something going on with her, and I hope we see what it is, because to me it seems like a concussion, and the doctor said no concussion, and I was like, are you sure? You don't need to check your equipment? Because she's sure acting concussed.
She definitely seems to be acting concussed, and I had a problem with it, and we have more to talk about it, so I'm going to take the next one here, and it is from Wes from Minnesota. He says, Detmer, she seems to be clearly affected by the crash landing of Discovery into the ice. Pollard says no concussion, but she has a ringing in her ears. What the heck, Pollard? Then that's rolling on the floor, laughing my ass emoji. Lastly, Jet Reno and Stamets. Thank goodness that Tig is back. I still view her as the bones of engineering. Always has that vibe. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like I'm like, what the heck, Pollard?
Yeah.
No concussion, you're fine. Are you sure? My thought is, maybe is there just something going on with her implant as well that she's not able to pick up? But that seems weird. Why would you have a cybernetic implant that the doctor can't, I don't know. To me, she's acting concussed, especially like you say, with the ringing in the ears. You are correct, Wes. That is definitely a hold your horses. Something's happening and they are portraying it wrong, I guess, is what I would say. Because to me, she's acting concussed. Not just, okay, yes, PTSD can take all forms, but to me, she's acting concussed. So it's either bad writing or bad directing or something else crazy is going on.
Yeah, it's like they're hinting to something else that's going on without them actually like showing what's going on. So I don't know. I am kind of curious. It just felt like it didn't pay off to me. And we actually did get one more comment about it.
Yep. Lots of people want to know what's going on with Detmer. And that is James the Augmented Sailor. Why is Detmer still on duty? She's clearly suffering some kind of after effect from the time travel or PTSD. And it's pretty obvious that both Culber and Saru picked up on it. I realized she's the senior con officer, but she's not fit right now to be piloting the ship. I'm definitely interested, though, to see what's going on with her. It'd be interesting to see if it is some kind of effect of the time travel. Poor girl can't catch a break.
The question that I've got with that is, if Culber picked up on it, like, who is the senior medical officer on this ship? Is it Pollard or is it Culber? Because I think Culber has 2.5 pips and Pollard has 2 pips. So what does that mean?
Do you still have 2.5 pips if you come back from the dead?
That is something that is a good question. That is something that I feel like it would be worth checking out for sure. I don't know for sure, but yeah. Anyway, my point being is that they certainly seem to be hinting about something, like almost this feels a lot like the storyline that they should have had for Arium last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so maybe this season ends with Detmer dying. I don't know. Or at some point she dies. But
maybe they learn from their past mistakes.
Or maybe like her visual, you know, her cyber implant or something has some weird like time thing, you know. But yeah,
I don't know. It was also auditory though, so
yeah.
I don't know.
It seemed like Pollard wasn't as thorough as Culber would have been, and makes me
I still don't understand why Culber didn't say something.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
And for that matter, what about that other guy that we saw with 3 pips in season 1, episode 7, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad? We see a 3-pipped doctor type that is about to, take care for the Gormagander. Is he still around? Probably not. But
I don't know.
But I don't know. I that's one thing I don't like about this show is they leave certain like chief of things kind of in
ambiguous.
Limbo. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that part. Yeah. Especially with them only having 88 crew members. You think that they could pretty much have decided that at this point. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. So here's what James says about parasitic ice. Parasitic ice. Are they implying that ice is alive? Next, we'll be talking about the migratory patterns of coconuts. Come on, guys. At least make it like there are microbes within the ice that use it as an extension of themselves or something, not the ice itself. I agree, James. It's a big fail.
Boil it. That's what I say. Boil it.
Oil it?
The water. Boil the ice. So like I said,
boil. I thought you said oil it. I was like,
no.
Okay, we need more lubrication.
That's just weird.
I know. I was like, oil and water don't mix. What's happening? I don't know. Okay, finally, he also has issues with episode 1 was titled That Hope Is You Part 1. So logically, episode 2 would be called Far From Home. Wait, what? I was like, did I just time travel a week into the future and miss the actual episode 2? Brian, do you still have that soundbite with Tilly asking what just happened?
No, I don't.
Sorry, James.
I should, but
well, yeah,
I could always pull it in. So,
I was going to say, maybe we'll get it in post. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm sorry.
My hope is you will get to hear it later.
That hope is you, Brian.
Yes.
What just happened?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What just happened?
What just happened?
What just happened?
LT from NC says, so are we to assume that programmable matter is just phase 2 or phase 3 replicator logic? I have questions. Well, it's funny because the way it was mentioned on the Ready Room last week, I thought it was just something that they were calling programmable matter. I didn't realize that they were actually going to call it programmable matter on the show. So, I was kind of surprised when that came up. Saru is playing fast and loose with that dilithium when it is probably the most valuable and dangerous, maybe, stockpile in the current galaxy.
I counter, he doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And presumably they still have that dilithium recrystallizer that Poe made.
I would think so.
So, I mean, to him, it's like, we just have a passing comment about no one has dilithium.
Yeah.
From Tilly.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And for that matter, they may think that the fact that they don't have dilithium is just this guy taking it,
Yeah. Or it's just a localized problem.
Right. So yeah, at this point, they don't know how much this is widespread.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it for our listeners for Hold Your Horses. What do you have? I
am surprised that this guy being Zara, knows what 930-year-old communication equipment looks like without blinking an eye. Seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody pulled that from around behind their eye, I'd be like, what the heck is that? I mean, granted, we don't have communication equipment that's 930 years old for me to say reference, but if there were a 930-year-old tool that someone like showed me, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, that's a blah, 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 blah. So I just find that very hard to believe.
It's a couple of cups and a string.
Yeah, exactly. It's a stone tablet and a chisel.
There you go.
I mean, seriously, he also got to time travel super quick, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. I wouldn't disagree with that. So.
And my final Hold Your Horses is, I don't understand why a tractor beam was able to pull them free when their own thrusters couldn't. That don't make no sense.
Well, maybe the tractor beam is pretty powerful because it's from the 32nd century.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, for me, I only have one remaining Hold Your Horses. I did have a couple others written, but we've already talked about them. But I'm surprised nobody brought this up. Okay, so both the first and the second episode were shot in Iceland, that we know. I couldn't get over the fact how similar the land looked between the two episodes. Like we see all this black with coastline and stuff like that, black rocks. It's not all we saw. I mean, we saw, other things, like especially on the first episode, we see that like weird rocky terrain that's green and that. But the point being is that was awfully similar. So I was just like, okay, so there were, glaciers like floating in the sky. Okay. And whatever, decahedron, life support or whatever. But for all intents and purposes, when they were walking the land, it looked very similar to me. So, so I would have thought that they, maybe could have like applied some kind of, post, like color correction in post or something to make it look a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, did you think similar or?
Oh yeah, I said the very first thing I wrote down was, so I guess they crashed on the same planet that Michael landed on just later. And then I was like, oh wait, but that can't be, because then they wouldn't need a courier if that were the case, since couriers left from the planet that Michael landed on. So
right.
I was like,
right.
Because yeah, they look pretty identical, and like I suppose the possibility of two planets being very similar is high,
sure.
Because you have to have certain things to support life.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It did seem like maybe they should have they're on location in Iceland, but maybe go to a different part of Iceland.
Yeah.
For the second part.
Yeah. That's my thought. It just looks so similar, especially in certain scenes. It looks so similar between the two episodes that I think it was disorienting. Especially, we know that, one, in the first episode, it's called heme, which is weird, by the way, because according to the closed captions, heme is spelled Hima, and this planet doesn't have a name, so they call it the colony. But it's anyway. The point being is they look too similar to me. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, so that's it for our Hold Your Horses segment. So now it is time for our feedback segment and open hailing frequencies. Okay, so our first bit of feedback is from Jeff, X-Force 11, with his feedback for this episode. And I don't even know how many in a row this is at this point. It's a lot.
Yay.
Hello, Brian, Ruthie, and Star Trek fans. It's Jeff, X-Force 11, leaving my feedback about Far From Home. Last week, I really enjoyed the episode, but this week was just a bit more for me because it is dealing around the crew of Discovery. And I really liked how they established dynamics between the crew and getting to see some relationships and fleshing some things out that we haven't seen before and building some things for the future. I really get that this is a post-apocalyptical tale, but to me, it's like this future version is the Wild West, and the Federation, Discovery are coming in as those bringing law to the lawless place. I know it's a return of law to a lawless place, but it really feels like an Old West vibe, especially with the bar shootout and kind of Western feel of this episode. But I really enjoyed it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this season brings us after seeing these first 2 episodes. I think last episode we got to see the hope, and this episode we got to see the need for the Federation to be in effect and for Discovery to be there. And I really appreciated it. I am loving this series so far. It has got to be my favorite Star Trek so far, and that's saying something. So those are my thoughts. X-Force 11 is out.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, X-Force 11, for your voicemail as usual. So many in a row. The thing that stuck out for me from what you said was the hope and the need between the 2 episodes. But you seem to like it more than like Ruthie liked the last one more. So, but yeah, I mean, I like seeing the crew. I like how I think we're going to set up seeing both next week.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we might get some flashbacks, you know?
Yep.
So it's all good. And when we get to talking about the name of the next episode, it should lead things a certain way. Okay. Well, anyway, I think that's it for your voicemail. So thank you so much.
Yep.
Now we're going to have our good friend Fred from the Netherlands with his voicemail.
Hello, Brian and Ruthie, and all listeners to Talk Through Media. This is Fred from the Netherlands with some feedback for Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 2. As the first episode of this season, really very nice. And I also liked that there was, as in the first episode, no double storyline. So now we focus on the Discovery. Cool visuals, very nice, this Western setup, cool fights. And I'm happy we find out that they really meet at the end of this episode, meaning Michael Burnham and the rest of the crew. I'm very curious if we get a lot of flashbacks from Burnham's life the last year. Of course, if you see the Ready Room with Bill Wheaton and you see a little bit of a scene of next week, we get a kind of summary what she did in 1 year. But I really wonder if this will be more extensively portrayed. Nice interaction between Georgiou and Saru, and if we listen to the Ready Room, that will continue throughout the season. Okay, that was all for now. I hope I can keep up with giving a little bit of feedback because there are many other shows I am going to watch and give feedback for, as The Mandalorian is coming up and, for instance, His Dark Materials. And of course, I have my regular podcast with Dave and Wayne, and they are currently doing Stargate SG-1. a series I never seen before. Greets, all the best. Fred from the Netherlands.
Well, thank you so much, Fred, from the Netherlands, for your feedback yet again. And we always love your feedback. What would I say there? I think, I guess by this time next week, the Mandalorian will be back. I don't think I'll be watching it though. I probably will get it once once I can get a trial or something. So, because I don't have it right now, and we're trying to save some money to move. So, yeah.
Well, I have to say, I really hope you enjoy Stargate. It's one of my favorites ever.
Yeah.
I
watched it. I'd say the first few seasons. I don't think I watched it all the way through though.
I love it. And I love Stargate Atlantis. And I even loved Stargate SGU. So I love them all.
Yeah.
They're good. So I hope you enjoy them.
Cool. But yeah, I agree about getting to see the crew this episode, and I think we are going to see flashbacks. I wonder how many. It seems like she is not with Book. Maybe she is at the end there, but like when she meets them, but it sounds like she might not have been during the whole year. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know. So anyway, thank you so much, and let's move on. James, the Augmented Sailor, he says, I really love this episode, even more than the premiere, though I may be a little biased because I'm in love with Jet. Not that there was anything better written or any story points that were better, just that it was more of an entire crew-oriented episode, and we get to see more of that traditional ensemble that makes Trek so great. I like that they split Michael's and Disco's episodes instead of opting for a 2-hour premiere as well. I'm wondering if this was something that was kicked around a bit by CBS to make the premiere bigger. I think, though, it would have caused continuity issues that were discussed in the last cast. I think this was also a lesson learned in season 1 of Netflix, The Witcher. For those familiar with that show, it time jumps all over the place without informing the audience it's doing so, and is very confusing. So, in my humble opinion, Disco has made the right choice here with the first 2 episodes. It's funny when you say that, you remind me of The Event. And I remember the first several episodes of The Event, they were time skipping here and there and everywhere. It would say, 44 years ago or something, but it would do it so quick that if you weren't looking at the screen, you could get confused. And I don't think that helped the show very much.
Yeah, but at least they don't really say in The Witcher. They just let you.
Oh, no?
Muddle. Nope. It's like, this could be happening the day after these other events happen. We don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen that show.
It's pretty good. I like it. Even though, I have to like it because I'm in love with Henry Cavill. So, but it's pretty good. It's a pretty good show.
Okay.
Except for I had no idea what was happening until the last episode. Then I was like, oh.
Okay.
So yeah, he's right. Serious time jumps.
They've really set the table so well for this season. I was really excited with how last season turned out and where it brought us. And now it's exceeded my expectations and really hit the ground running this season. I know there will be some lulls as the season progresses because you've got to have some expositional episodes. But if the overall arc has a good natural progression, it's going to be amazing. I would agree.
Yep, I agree too. It will be amazing. So next we have Comic Geek Kev, who says, another stellar episode. Great visuals for the most part, and performances were spot on. The story is moving right along already, and these first 2 episodes have set up a promising season. I didn't think I'd be able to like an episode better than last week, but I was wrong. Discovery does this to me regularly. I know the series is really Burnham-centered, but it was great to see the other characters without her, and I'm hoping, probably pointlessly, that maybe it will become more crew-centric now that they have a totally new setting to play in. Doug Jones is absolutely phenomenal as Saru, right down to the way he moves his arms when he walks. He deserves his own category at the Emmys. I agree.
Swoopy, swoopy, swoopy.
Yep. It's well. It does. Yeah, he's great. Every time I see Nilsson, all I can think of is, that used to be Arium. LOL. Me too. That's what I think too.
Mike from Cleveland says, while it was needed to get up to date with the crew of Discovery, in my opinion, this episode was weakened by trying to show us the entire crew in just 1 hour. Now, hold on a second. Last week, you wanted the Discovery crew in the episode, but now that you've got the Discovery crew, now you're upset. You can't have it both ways, man. Maybe 1 hour to resolve the Zere problem and another hour to escape the glacier and see Burnham would have worked better for me. Okay. I guess. I don't know if it would have worked for me. I like that we already know it's been 1 year between Burnham episode 1 and the reunion. Hopefully that means we'll avoid those, gee, if only our heroes knew how bad it really is episodes. Burnham should be completely up to date on this universe's situation, and we can jump straight into Discovery's mission. Was it foreshadowing when Giorgio mentioned that if Sarah could be powerful here, she would be able to rule the universe? Yeah, that maybe. Yeah. While I don't consider this a strong episode, I do see why we got it, and hopefully the remaining episodes are stronger. Okay, that's good.
Yep. All right. Next we have Aaron from Akron, who says, well, we can sort of see how reuniting the Systems Commonwealth Federation leads to an interstellar war like we heard of in the Calypso short trek. I'm looking forward to next week.
Yes.
I agree with that.
I'm surprised that the Vadrash hadn't come up until now, because that was mentioned in the episode. We had not heard that until now, so we definitely know that it seems like Kraft was in the future, it seems, from this point. So because Kraft is meeting this ship and it's already gone, and it's already gone sentient. So I don't know.
That's even further in the future.
Yeah. Although that doesn't lead to, good thoughts, because it makes me think that they weren't successful at restoring the Federation. But
yeah,
who knows?
I don't know.
Maybe he's in a pocket of time that, is the Kraft timeline.
Maybe so.
As in the Kelvin timeline. If you didn't get the joke, I know you did, but other people. That's what I meant.
All right. Ken from Chicago says, Saru's line about why he chose Tilly was great. A thumbs up and Spock emoji. Also, quote, in your absence, rolling on the floor laughing emoji, hashtag Star Trek Discovery. Oh, and one other line, together. Although hashtag Starfleet really needs to beef up medical training to deal with officers who resist medical care, or even better, train officers in general to value seeking out medical care and following medical advice the way they would weapons, self-defense, engineering, etc. training. Spock emoji.
Yep.
Agreed. I think that could go with the not being so prideful. Training, I don't know. Or pig-headed.
There was one more bit of supplemental feedback that came in that's, I guess, tied to Ken from Chicago's feedback, and that's from Martin Anders Poopy. And he just says, "We are introducing ourselves to the future. You, Ensign Tilly, are a wonderful first impression."
Mm-hmm.
And the picture of her face after hearing it, and she kind of looks like she's almost crying from that. But yeah, so okay. So now that's it for our feedback section. So now we go into our other notes. Ruthie, do you have anything?
Oh, I just had one little tiny thing that I wrote down that I didn't say yet. I don't understand why Saru's head spikes didn't come out earlier. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
Is literally the only other thing that I would have mentioned, but I forgot to mention it earlier when we were talking about the bar fight scene. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm sure there's something I forgot to write down, but that's all I wrote down.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I wanted to bring up, and I can't think of anything right now, although there probably is something.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
like tomorrow I'll wake up and go, oh,
yeah, that always happens. But I know there are several things that come up in our next section that may jog my memory. So let's go into, and we kind of moved this around from last week, the spot the references section. And of course, we have, with the help of the denofgeek.com again, so we'll post that link. It's actually ready to post in our Facebook group to be published sometime Saturday, so it'll be there. First of all is the wormhole effect. We see that in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, of course, when when the warp drive kind of falters, and I know there's like an asteroid causing weird stuff. But anyway, we see it there. So that's that weird like time effect. We see it in the voyage home. If you recall, they had this like weird thing with the faces in white, and they were all like blurry or something. And we see it also in, of course, the season finale of last season. But we've seen it as well a little bit in like DS9, of course, and throughout Star Trek when it comes to wormholes. So, and I mentioned earlier that the wormhole is now a part of the credits, opening credits of Discovery, and it's a diagram of the Einstein-Rosen bridge, which is in real science the theoretical concept that would make space and time travel possible via a wormhole. And of course, here we see a starship crash. We've seen this kind of thing happen before. Generations, Star Trek Generations. We see it crash land on Veridian 3. We see this happen in Star Trek Beyond. We also see this happen in a very funny way on Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 9. And it seems like only the USS Voyager is a Federation starship that can actually seem to land and take off on a planet successfully. But we also see Voyager crash on an ice planet in Timeless. So even it didn't get to, go away unscathed. We see the use of the graviton beam, which we've seen mentioned throughout Trek. Den of Geek singles out Scorpion Part 2 from Voyager as one of the most notable, but we've seen it mentioned lots of times. Terra Elysium from Season 2, Episode 2, New Eden is mentioned again. It was mentioned last week. Plasma manifolds and EPS relays and conduits, and it's EPS stands for electroplasma system. So when they say, the plasma conduits, whatever, that is, like saying the the La Serena, as Ruthie hates to hear. Yeah. Anyway, plasma manifolds and EPS relays and conduits mentioned all through Enterprise, DS9, and Voyager, and they didn't mention it on Den of Geek, but I could have swore I've heard Geordi and Data mention it several times in TNG too. We see Reno's kids from season 2, episode 1, Brother. We see them again. A transtator is something that was mentioned in TOS's A Piece of the Action. Rubindium was mentioned on the writing room this week. It was first mentioned in the TOS episode Patterns of Force. Spock used rubindium crystals as a means of escaping imprisonment from the planet Echos. Saru, Tilly, Giorgio, and Nan confer in Pike's old ready room. That's the room with the broken table on it.
Mm-hmm.
Tilly gets a breathing treatment, much like Kirk got on Vulcan. So, yeah, I definitely noticed the fact that she wasn't breathing right. It seemed pretty obvious. And maybe that kind of was what's happening with Detmer, but who knows? But it might indicate that it's not a Class M planet. So, Saru and Tilly's robes are similar to what Saru and Burnham wore on season 3, episode 6, The Sound of Thunder. And Kirk and Bones also wore something similar on in Star Trek Into Darkness. That's at least what they say. Starfleet Regulation, this is a deep cut here. Starfleet Regulation 256.15 is a deep cut from the novel Vulcan's Forge. Officers shall show professional behavior at all times. This novel was written by Josepha Sherman and Susan Schwartz and published in 1997. So that is a deep cut, so it made it canon. Duranium alloy comes from the TOS episode The Menagerie. So they're doing a lot of deep cuts here. Worth mentioning, Zera is also a courier, much like Book is. Zera knows that the crew of Discovery are time travelers because of certain gravitational waves. In the famous TOS episode City on the Edge of Forever, Spock and Kirk were basically led to the Guardian of Forever because of strange gravitational waves, which later revealed a time portal. Interesting. We note that there's another exchange here. So Zera was going to go to the Tellarite exchange. We also had already mentioned the Vidrash. This comes from Calypso, the short trek, which was written by one of the, Star Trek Picard creators, Michael Chabon, where Kraft mentions the Vidrash. And he says the Vidrash have they're fond of like things from the past, right? We see Saru's darts again and a tractor beam to rescue a ship, which we see in season 1, episode 2, Battle of Binary Stars. But that was not, of course, the Discovery. It was the Shenzhou that was rescued. Okay, so that's it for our references for this week. So let's move into shipwide announcements. First of all, Star Trek Short Treks composer Nami Melomad, hopefully I said that right, will be writing the score for the upcoming Nickelodeon animated series Star Trek Prodigy. Melomad score for the Short Trek's episode Q&A gave her the distinction as being the first female composer of an episode of Star Trek. And now she will be the first composer of a series. So that's cool. Her prior credits go back to the recent HBO Max feature, An American Pickle, starring Seth Rogen. I haven't seen that. And the Amazon thriller drama series Absentia. And of course, and I wanted to bring this up, Ruthie, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Of course, she joins another trailblazing woman on Star Trek Prodigy, Kate Mulgrew, who is reprising her role as Catherine Janeway. Of course, this was announced before, as Star Trek Lower Decks was going on. So I wanted to get your take on Catherine Janeway returning to Star Trek.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping you had more than 2 words. But
Well, I mean, it's coming to another show I probably won't watch, so yay.
no. Okay. That's yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I don't know what you want from me.
No, don't want anything from you. Just the fact that she's coming back. I mean, I don't know. I think it's cool, but
That's really cool. I was hoping she would come back on Picard.
well, I hope that she does. You know, I don't see why she couldn't. So
I
yeah,
don't know why
when
she
you-
couldn't
it was
either.
kinda
But they
funny.
didn't announce it.
yeah, it's kind of funny when that got announced and I completely misunderstood what you said.
Yeah, I know. I
was
was
like-
like, what?
Yeah. Because I thought what she was saying is that Picard, she thought that Picard should go on that show. And I'm like, what? I completely misunderstood. But yes, I want to see.
thought that Kate Mulgrew should go on Picard.
I think it would be great if she did. It would make total sense to see her in season 2. You know, and she could be kind of the foil of Clancy, you know. Clancy says no, and you know, Clancy's the mother.
Says yes.
Yeah, Clancy's the mother, and she says no, and Janeway's the nice aunt.
Dad.
yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's good news though. Another thing got released today. Casting is beginning in earnest for Strange New Worlds. So, apparently, they are going to start shooting the first episode in, at least according to schedule, February of 2021. So not that far away, like, you know, about 4.5 months off, I guess. So, and it's the same casting directors, Simkin and Sidowitz. They're the ones that do Discovery. So that's cool. And of course, we already know that Anson Mount, Rebecca Romaine, and Ethan Peck will be starring in that. We don't know who else,
Yay.
but yeah. According to IndieWire, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard will be getting an AR wall similar to what we see on used on The Mandalorian. So we know that they use that to kind of simulate certain, like, you know, sets and things like that. And that makes total sense, especially, you know, given all the COVID stuff and how I think a lot of things they won't be able to do as easily as they could have before. But if they have, you know, the ability to project stuff, I think it's cool. And I know what The Mandalorian did with that is cool. And just slightly correcting myself from the last thing I said about that, I'm definitely going to watch The Mandalorian. I'm just probably not going to watch The Mandalorian when it first comes out. I'll wait until the all the episodes are out, and I probably won't though. I'm saying that now, but in theory, I'll wait until they're all out, and then I'll get a trial.
Attention.
Yeah, but what'll probably happen instead? It's so good, but I'm hoping just that I'll be so busy with this show that I won't want to. So that's my thought. Couple other things. Bloomington, Indiana, which is, you know, the fictional home of Catherine Janeway, will be unveiling a statue of the character this weekend. So Saturday, it'll have already happened, according to by the time you get this, because it's supposed to happen on Saturday, October 24th. Originally, it was scheduled for May, but it was delayed because of COVID.
A scant 2 hours from now, 1 hour from now.
Yes, but I don't think it'll be at midnight.
Probably not.
Probably not. So Viacom CBS has Pluto TV. That is a service that you can watch like things almost like, you know, watching a cable channel. And that's a free service. And they are also, they of course have CBS All Access. they are combining forces, and one leader of all that, the current CEO of Pluto TV, Tom Ryan, will be running the whole thing. So what does that mean? That they're going to like merge Pluto TV into CBS All Access, and that'll be part of Paramount Plus? No way to know. There are no ratings this week for Star Trek Discovery on the networks because the debate was on last night, so it was preempted.
Aww.
So that'll be on again next week. But we do have the Parrots, and I am pleased to say that, because I wasn't sure if it was even going to make the Parrot analytics this week, because last time when Picard came out, it didn't make the Parrot analytics in this first week, but Discovery did.
Yay!
So in the digital original section of the US, it came in 6th place with in the exceptional range, 35.0 times the average demand for a show. So
Wow.
number one in digitals this week was The Boys at roughly more than double the demand at 70.
I just finished watching that show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, at 71.8 times, and The Mandalorian will probably be number one next week. It's at second and 56.3 times in the digitals.
Well, they're catching up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, but by this time next week, first episode of The Mandalorian will be out, so I imagine that it'll be talked about a lot. But yeah, for Discovery to premiere in the number 6 position, I think that's pretty good. And, that can only go up from here, I think. So
Hopefully.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's it for our Shipwide announcements. So Ruthie, why don't you tell people how to contact us?
All right. To submit your theories and feedback, go to talkthroughmedia.com/feedback, where you can submit text or audio, or you can call 216-232-6146 and leave us a voicemail. You can also go to or you can send us an email by typing in Star Trek Discovery at talkthroughmedia.com, or you can post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts. We also have a Twitter handle. I don't know what happened to that.
Right here.
Oh, there it is. So that's how you do your theories and feedback. I'm feeling awkward.
And the deadline, of course, for next week, Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 3, will be at our regular day and time, Friday, October 30th, 2020. Growing up, that used to be called Devil's Night.
Devil's Night?
Yeah, that's a thing from Detroit. It is also a thing across the border in Windsor.
What's that?
People would toilet paper. People that didn't
you're
like
talking about Halloween.
It was the day before
Talking
Halloween.
about Halloween?
It was the day before Halloween. We called
day
it Devil's
before
Night.
Halloween.
Like in Detroit, they would
night.
like burn houses and stuff. Nothing.
Oh, lovely.
Sorry, Detroiters. Anyway, the deadline for Discovery Season 3, Episode 3 will be at our regular time, Friday, October 30th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 2300 UTC, although I need to make sure that that's true. If you guys fall back, it would...
I was going to say, we are going to have a daylight savings event.
Yes.
Soon.
Yes. And of course, our Twitter, if you want to connect with us that way, it's at Star Trek TTM. And a great way to support us is by sharing those posts that we do on Twitter and on Facebook. Now, our Facebook group is a private group, but our episodes are always posted on the Talk Through Media Facebook page at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. And there you can write a review of the network, and you can share those posts. So share Twitter, share Facebook. And I keep on mentioning Instagram, but haven't gotten that into our workflow yet. But Star Trek TTM is also our Instagram account there. So, and yeah, TikTok as well. So TikTok at Star Trek TTM, and my own personal TikTok at Brian Meloche, BrianMeloche. This time I know how to spell my name.
That's good. That's good.
So anyway, I owe a lot of content there. Subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. So whatever you use, make sure that you subscribe to us. And while you're there on Apple Podcasts, or if your podcast client allows you to do it, help us out by rating us, and especially if you could write us a review. And podchaser.com is another place where you can do that if your podcast client doesn't allow that. So, and there you can not only rate and review the podcast, but rate or review the episodes, individual episodes. And another way you can support us is through Patreon, of course. And we are probably going to do an episode next week, I guess on Halloween or something like that. We'll see. But we're going to be doing one to, cover the first couple of episodes of Discovery and Lower Decks. And we want to thank our Patreon supporters, of course: Clint McCollum, Lawrence Todd, James Robbins, Fred Petrie, Kyle McAdams, Kim Vogley, Brian Shiro, Christoph Leckleitner, Lee Radke, Aaron Mays, Michael Carrier, Stephen Chambers, Kevin Lyle, Jeff Gentry, and welcome back, Jeff Bayako. So,
yay.
Yeah. Worth mentioning, all of our episodes are on YouTube first. So they always get there first because that's part of our production process. It gets submitted to YouTube before we get the blog post finished. So if you haven't subscribed to us, just go to search for Talk Through Media and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you get notified when the episodes come out, because that's the first way of getting them. And of course, if you are listening to us on the podcast client of choice, hopefully you are subscribed to us there, and that you're probably listening to us on the Star Trek Discovery podcast. You can also find us on the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed, which, in addition to Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, and Star Trek Lower Decks, also has the Binge Deep Space Nine podcast, The Walking Dead Talk Through, and Let's Talk Through, which we've only done one episode on, but maybe at some point in the hiatus we'll get to it. And we're saying that Kyle and new host LT are hosting Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through, and they were pretty much solo this week, and they're focusing more on Fear the Walking Dead because we're not finding that we like World Beyond too much, but there's a little bit of World Beyond coverage. And I'll be there just a little bit, but limited capacity because I'm focusing here on Discovery. Season 3, Episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery will be next week. It is titled People of Earth. It is written by what will be the creators of the Section 31 show, when it eventually comes out, whenever that is, Bo Young Kim and Erica Lippold. They've been with the show since season 1. And directed by everyone's favorite commander and now captain, Jonathan Frakes. So,
yay.
Yeah. And we don't have a description of it, but we know that that Burnham has finally met up with Discovery crew. So that we don't know, but as far as what we do know for next week, we see a clip in the Ready Room, and that mentions the burn a little more in detail, and we get a star date. So I'm not going to give you the star date, but it is a star date way beyond what we've ever heard before. I'll just say that. And next week's episode of The Ready Room will have Jonathan Frakes, who directed the episode, and producers Bo Young Kim and Erica Lippold. I believe they're supervising producers on here. who wrote the
Yay.
episode, as well as composer Jeff Russo. So until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Ruthie.
Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.